ever feel like you're, I don't know, like putting in so much effort to show someone you care,
Yeah.
but it's like not landing. It's
Hmm.
like you bring them their favorite takeout and they're like, did you even ask about my day?
Oh, yeah, right.
And that's where I feel like this idea of love languages can be so helpful.
I agree.
It's not about reading minds or anything, but just like learning how to speak the right language so your love really gets through.
It is fascinating how we often assume everyone experiences love in the same way that we do.
Right.
But love languages really highlights that what makes one person feel deeply loved might just not even register for another.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so love languages. It outlines these 5 different ways we give and receive love.
Hmm.
Words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch.
Okay.
And so starting with words of affirmation,
Yes.
this isn't just about like, sweet talking someone. This is deeper than that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Those core things that we as humans like crave.
Mm-hmm.
And words of affirmation really feed directly into our need for esteem,
Oh, interesting.
feeling valued by others.
Okay.
So for someone whose love language is words of affirmation, hearing genuine compliments or those I love yous,
Yeah.
they aren't just like nice. They're actually fundamental to feeling secure and loved.
It's like a core need,
Yeah,
like it's being met through those words, right?
exactly.
And, the book Love Languages emphasizes that they have to be genuine.
Yeah,
It can't just be empty flattery, right?
it can't be.
It has to be real.
Yeah, generic, you look good might totally fall flat.
Right.
But I love how your smile lights up a room, hits differently,
Yeah,
because you're paying attention and you mean it.
totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to quality time.
Okay.
Um, this one seems pretty straightforward, but I'm betting Love Languages digs a bit deeper here.
It does.
It's not just like being in the same room while you scroll on your phone.
Definitely not. Quality time is all about that focused, present connection. And it actually links to Bowlby's attachment theory,
Okay.
where feeling seen and heard really builds that secure bond,
Oh, wow.
like a baby feeling safe with their caregiver.
Yeah, yeah.
The absence of this type of attention can really make someone feel like they just don't matter,
Right.
even if you're physically there.
Even if you're right next to them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's like with quality time, you're saying you're the most important thing to me right now, just by giving them your full attention.
Yes.
No distractions.
Yes.
Like pure connection, right?
And it's also about building a couple identity.
Oh, interesting.
We're all presenting a certain face to the world.
Mm-hmm.
The sociologist Irving Goffman, he called it that.
Okay.
And so sharing these experiences together, it
Right.
really solidifies that shared identity and strengthens that bond over time.
Okay, so now receiving gifts.
Yes.
This one can be, I think, tricky because some people hear this and think, like, oh, this is just about being materialistic.
Mm,
But Love Languages makes it very clear that that's not the point
right.
at all.
It's about the thought behind the gift,
Right.
the symbolism.
Mm-hmm.
And this ties into something called symbolic interactionism, which is like how objects gain meaning through our shared experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So, a small, thoughtful gift.
Yeah.
It says, I was thinking about you. I know what you like.
Right.
And that's really powerful.
And that can mean more than like, a big, expensive, but generic gift.
Exactly.
Like if my partner knows I love sunflowers, bringing me a single sunflower, just because that
Yeah.
means way more to me than like a dozen roses from the grocery store.
100%.
It's the thought, the effort, the understanding.
Yeah. And it taps into what we call intrinsic motivation.
Okay.
It's not about that, monetary value.
Right.
It's really the feeling of being valued by the giver that brings joy.
Okay, so shifting gears to acts of service.
Okay.
This one always makes me laugh because for some people, like doing the dishes as an act of love.
Oh, absolutely. You're spot on.
Like it's the ultimate romantic gesture.
Yeah, for someone whose primary love language is acts of service.
Mm.
All those little things, taking out the trash, making dinner,
Yeah.
they speak volumes.
Right.
It's not about being a servant. It's about showing care through those helpful actions.
Yeah, it's like saying, I love you enough to lighten your load. Right.
Yes.
And this actually connects to altruism,
Yes.
that, feeling good that you get from doing something nice for someone else.
And there's actually a biological basis for it, too.
Oh,
Doing
really?
things for loved ones releases feel-good hormones,
Oh, cool.
which strengthens those social bonds.
Interesting.
And it also builds that communal relationship style,
Okay.
where you're giving and receiving based on need
Yeah.
and not like keeping score.
Right. It's that we're in this together
Oh.
feeling. Last but not least, physical touch.
Okay.
Um, this seems like the most straightforward one,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm sure love languages add some nuance here, right?
It does. It's more than just the obvious, like, hugs and kisses.
Okay.
It's really about expressing affection and connection through any physical closeness.
Interesting.
Remember Harlow's monkey experiments?
Yeah. Those were fascinating.
Baby monkeys deprived of touch developed all sorts of issues.
Right.
And it really proved that we're wired to need it for healthy development.
Mm-hmm.
And physical touch also triggers oxytocin.
Cuddles hormone.
The cuddle hormone, exactly,
Yeah.
which strengthens those bonds.
So even something small like holding hands or a pat on the back,
Yes.
that can be deeply reassuring for someone whose love language is physical touch.
Absolutely.
So we've got these 5 love languages: words of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of serving, and physical touch.
Yes.
But the book Love Languages isn't just about knowing these 5 things. It's about figuring out which ones resonate the most
Yeah.
with you and to your partner.
That's the key.
Right.
It's like learning a new language to communicate more effectively
Totally.
with someone you love.
Yeah.
And most people have a primary love language, the
Right.
one that really speaking loudest to their heart.
Okay, so how do we crack the code?
Mm-hmm.
How do we figure out, like, what makes our partner feel truly loved?
Right.
Does love languages give us any tips for that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It suggests paying really close attention to complaints
Okay.
and requests.
So, like, if they're always saying, you never listen to me,
Right.
that might be a clue that quality time is super important to them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Complaints often reveal what they're lacking.
Right.
And even those, like, seemingly simple requests, like, will you please make the bed,
Yeah.
could actually be a coded message for how they want to be loved.
So it's like they're saying, this is how you can make me feel cherished in a way that I understand. Right.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And another clue is to pay attention to how you express love. If you're a gift giver, maybe that's your primary language.
Okay.
We often show love the way we wish to receive it.
This is making me rethink how I approach relationships.
Yeah,
It's not just about good intentions.
it's not.
It's about speaking the right language.
It's about speaking the right language.
Yeah. And, what we've been talking about just now, it makes me realize this isn't just for romantic relationships.
No, not at all.
Like, this can apply to family, friends,
colleagues.
coworkers.
Yeah.
Understanding this can change how we connect with everyone.
It can transform how we connect with everybody.
It's like having a universal translator
Right.
for a human connection.
Exactly. Creating deeper understanding, expressing love in a way that truly lands.
I love that. I'm already feeling inspired to apply this.
Hey.
But I have to admit, I'm also a little overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
There's just like so much to learn
Right.
and apply.
That's perfectly normal.
Yeah.
It's like learning any new language. It takes time and practice.
I guess I'm so used to instant gratification that I forget some things take
Yeah.
effort and patience.
It takes effort. It takes patience.
Yeah.
But imagine,
Okay.
speaking the language of love so fluently that your relationships are just filled with understanding, connection, and appreciation.
Okay. Yeah.
That's worth the effort.
Now that's a goal worth striving for.
Absolutely.
So before we move on, any final thoughts?
Yeah.
To really get our listeners thinking about all of this.
Absolutely. As you dive deeper into love languages, I want you to consider this. How might understanding your own AG, your loved one's love languages, actually transform your relationships?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a challenge, right?
it is.
It's not just about knowing the information. It's about
Putting it into action.
putting it into action and actually seeing the results.
Exactly.
Because knowledge is most valuable when we apply it in our lives.
It is.
Well said.
Thank-
Our listeners are definitely up for that challenge.
I think so too.
We'll be right back to unpack even more from love languages after a quick break.
So, as we've been diving into these love languages,
Mm-hmm.
I've been thinking about how they're not mutually exclusive.
Oh, what do you
I feel like it's not as simple as, oh, my language is gifts, yours is touch, end of story.
Right, right.
You don't only speak one language and are like totally deaf to the others.
Okay.
It's more like having a primary language, but still being able to understand and appreciate the others to some degree.
Okay, so like I might really crave words of affirmation,
Yeah,
but I'd still feel loved if my partner made me dinner after a tough day,
exactly.
even though acts of service isn't like my top language.
Yeah, exactly. It's like being fluent in Spanish,
Yeah, yeah.
but still picking up bits of Italian.
Right.
You might not be conversational,
Mm-hmm.
but you get the gist.
You get the idea.
That's why it's important to learn your partner's primary language, but also be open to expressing love in all 5 ways.
So it's like having a whole toolbox of love languages
Yeah.
to choose from, depending on the situation and what your partner needs at that moment.
You got it.
I like that.
And the more you practice speaking all 5,
Mm-hmm.
the more fluent you become
All right.
in expressing love in ways that truly resonate with your partner.
Yeah.
It's like any skill.
Yeah.
The more you use it, the better you get.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It makes it feel, I don't know, less daunting, less overwhelming.
Yeah.
So let's say I've done my love languages homework.
Okay.
I've figured out what speaks to my partner. Now what?
Okay.
How do I actually start, speaking it in a way that feels genuine?
Right.
Not like I'm just going through the motions.
That's where the real work begins.
Right.
It's one thing to like grasp the concept, but putting it into daily life is key.
Right.
So love languages suggest starting small.
Okay.
You don't have to overhaul everything overnight. Exactly. Baby steps.
Okay.
Pick one small action that aligns with their language and do it consistently.
Okay.
So if it's words of affirmation,
Yeah.
maybe make a point of giving a genuine compliment each day.
Yeah.
Small, but consistent.
And if it's quality time, maybe schedule like a regular date night.
Yes.
Phones off.
Hey.
Just connecting with each other.
You're getting it.
Okay.
If it's acts of service, start doing those little chores without being asked.
Right.
Showing love through action.
Right. Showing you care.
The point is to make it manageable.
Okay.
Something you can actually weave into your routine.
Yeah, it's like learning to say please and thank you
Yes.
in a new language.
Exactly.
Those basic building blocks.
Those little things.
Okay, but what if I get it wrong?
Okay.
What if I think I know their language, but it turns out it's something else?
That's bound to happen.
Right.
We're not mind readers.
Mm-hmm.
The important thing is to be open to feedback,
Okay.
willing to adjust. Relationships are a dance.
Yeah.
It takes 2 to find the rhythm.
Okay, that's reassuring.
Yeah.
I was starting to feel like I needed to be like a love languages expert overnight.
There's a learning curve with everything.
Right.
The good news is
Yeah.
your partner is your best teacher.
Okay.
Open communication is so crucial.
Hmm.
So don't be afraid to just ask
Yeah.
what makes you feel loved.
So simple,
Right.
yet so effective.
Yeah.
But what about when their love language is something that doesn't come naturally to me?
Okay.
Like I'm not a very touchy-feely person,
Mm-hmm.
but theirs is physical touch.
Right.
Do I just like force myself?
This is where love languages reminds us that love is a choice.
Um,
Sometimes it means stepping outside our comfort zone
Right.
to express love in a way that matters to them, even if it feels awkward to us at first.
So like I learned to be more affectionate,
Yeah,
even if I'm not naturally a hugger.
exactly. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes.
All right.
It's like stretching a muscle that hasn't been used in a while.
But isn't there a risk of it feeling fake?
Okay.
Like if I'm only hugging them because I know it's their language,
Right.
but I don't really feel it.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
It's got to be more than just going through the motions.
Right,
It's
yeah.
about aligning your actions with your intentions.
Okay.
So make the effort to connect with them in a way that's meaningful to them.
Mm-hmm.
And you might be surprised
Okay.
as you make that effort,
Yeah.
your own feelings might start to shift too.
Like a positive feedback loop.
Exactly.
The more I try to express love in their language,
Yes.
the more loving I actually feel.
That's it.
Interesting.
It really highlights the power of this whole concept. It's not just about understanding needs.
Yeah.
It's about choosing to love
Right.
in a way that actually strengthens the relationship.
Wow. This is really reframing how I view relationships.
Yeah.
It's like we have a roadmap now.
Yeah.
Instead of just like wandering around hoping we bump into each other's needs.
Exactly.
And the best part is it's never too late to start learning.
Never too late.
Whether you're, newly dating or have been married for decades,
Right?
there's always more to discover about how to love and be loved.
Absolutely.
This conversation has been so eye-opening.
I
I
know.
feel like I have a whole new toolkit
Yeah.
for building stronger relationships.
And remember,
Yeah.
these principles apply to all your relationships,
Right.
not just romantic ones.
Not just romantic ones.
How you show appreciation to your friends,
Yeah.
how you connect with family.
This is making me rethink how I approach everyone in my life,
Right.
not just my partner.
And that's the ripple effect of understanding human connection.
Yeah.
It spreads outwards, creating more love and harmony in all areas of our lives.
I like that. It sounds like we've reached a natural stopping point for this part of our deep dive.
Okay.
But before we wrap up, do you have a final thought to leave our listeners pondering?
I do, as you continue exploring this love languages concept,
Mm-hmm.
ask yourselves this.
Okay.
How can understanding these languages help you not only receive love more fully,
Right.
but also become a more loving person yourself?
That's a powerful question.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like a reminder that love isn't passive.
it's not.
It's a choice we make,
Right.
an action we take every single day.
And by choosing to speak the language of love,
Mm-hmm.
we not only nourish our relationships,
Yeah.
but we become more loving human beings in the process.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
We'll dive into even more from love languages in just a bit. Stay with us. Okay, so we're back, and I'm still like processing all this love languages stuff. It's
Yeah.
really, I don't know, it's shifted how I'm thinking about relationships.
It's a powerful framework.
Yeah.
And as we wrap up this deep dive,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's worth highlighting how understanding these languages can help us navigate conflict.
Oh, that's a great point.
Yeah,
Because like disagreements are bound to happen, right? Even if we're like perfectly speaking each other's love language,
right.
we're human.
We're human.
Mm-hmm.
But often, the conflict isn't from a lack of love, but a miscommunication of it.
Oh, interesting.
And love languages can really help us decode those miscommunications.
Okay, so like, for example,
Mm-hmm.
I might be showing love by like doing a ton of chores around the house,
Yeah.
thinking I'm helping. But if my partner's love language is quality time,
Right.
they might feel neglected, like I'm avoiding them,
Exactly.
even though I'm like genuinely trying to show I care.
They might feel unloved.
Right.
Even though you're, like you said, genuinely trying to express care.
And that can build up resentment over time
Absolutely.
if we're not speaking the right language.
Yes, even with the best intentions.
Okay, so how does love languages actually help us resolve conflict?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it just about knowing like what buttons to push to get what we want?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It's more about reframing the conflict itself. So instead of seeing it as like a personal attack,
Right.
we can view it through the lens of love languages.
Oh, interesting.
So maybe it's not about them being lazy
Right.
or me being controlling.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a language barrier.
That's a huge shift in perspective.
Yeah,
It takes the heat out of the argument
it does.
and it allows for like more empathy.
Absolutely.
So instead of saying like, you don't care about me,
yeah,
it's more like maybe we're just expressing care differently.
exactly.
Okay. So once we like understand the root of the conflict,
Yeah.
how do we actually find solutions?
So we can find solutions that speak each other's language.
Okay.
So in your chore example, maybe instead of just doing more dishes,
Mm-hmm.
you also schedule some dedicated time for connection,
Right.
even if it's just 15 minutes a day.
Okay. So that way both needs are met.
Exactly.
I'm still showing love through acts of service,
Right.
but I'm also prioritizing that quality time that they crave.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
Exactly.
I like that.
And remember, conflict resolution is a two-way street.
Right. It takes two.
It's about both partners being willing to speak each other's language.
It's that dance we were talking about earlier.
Exactly.
It takes both partners to make it work.
And just like learning any new dance,
Yeah.
it takes practice,
Mm.
patience, and sometimes stepping on each other's toes.
Right. We're going to mess up sometimes.
But the more we practice, the smoother it becomes,
Yeah.
leading to a more loving and harmonious relationship.
This has been such a, I don't know, an insightful deep dive into love languages.
I did.
I feel like I have a whole new understanding
Yeah.
of how to build stronger relationships, more fulfilling relationships.
And remember, this is just the beginning.
Right.
The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman, that's
Yeah.
a great place to continue exploring.
Yeah. And we've also touched on some fascinating psychological and sociological theories
Yeah.
that tie into all of this, like
Mhm.
Maslow, Bowlby, Goffman, Harlow, Clark, and Mills.
Yes.
All worth checking out.
Absolutely.
Our listeners are going to have a whole reading list after this.
I know, right?
But it's so valuable. It's not just theory, it's real life application.
Exactly. And as you continue learning,
Yeah.
keep asking yourself how you can use this knowledge to become a more loving person,
Right.
not just receive love more effectively.
Well said. It's a reminder that love is an action,
It is.
a choice we make every day.
And the more we understand how to express it in
Yeah.
a way that truly resonates,
Yeah.
the more love we bring into the world.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, dear listeners, we've reached the end of our deep dive. We
Thanks, man.
hope you've enjoyed this exploration of love languages as much as we have.
And remember, the journey to deeper connection and intimacy starts with understanding and speaking the language of love.
Keep diving deep.
We'll see you next time.